The OMG Racing MiniGP160 and 50 categories now for riders between the ages of 10 and 14. Wilson Dilks and Kimmy Kirk back on that front row of the grid again. Parker Cesari and Frankie Watson, Jenson Bishop and Harrison Quincy, Dan Stevenson, Travis Shaw, Leo Solio and Hudson Cooper in the top 10. Further back, there's plenty more talent to come as this is one of the busiest of our grids. So behind the top 10, led by Wilson Dilks and Valentino Kimmy Kirk. On the 6th row, we've got Sydney Marshall and Lucy Curtis. Annabelle McCarthy there alongside Seth Hayward, then George Ackerman, Riley Paisley, Arnie Carr, and Luke Fitchett. 18 riders, aged between 10 and 14, and a top speed of 80 miles an hour on these bikes. Off we go. Through the hairpin we go for the first part of the course. And already, it's a good start from Wilson Dilks, who has it neat and tidy. The young man from Mansfield holding the pace at the front end of the field as all of our competitors just try and nip their way through. There's a lot more riders on the road at this point, so it's going to be a lot more tricky to sort this one out.
Yeah, and you will recognise the name of the man in second place. That is, again, Valentino Kimmy Kirk. I said earlier, riders will take part in more than one class. They have more than one type of bike. They want as much track time as possible, and Valentino definitely wants some track time today.
He's riding on bike number 468. I wonder where that particular number came from. The 46. I think there's no guesses for getting where the 46 came from. This is already a very decent squabble in the midfield battle, and this is what we were talking about earlier on in the bill. Just because you're not running in first position, that doesn't mean you give yourself any less than a brilliant battle out there. Dan Stevenson currently running in the top 5, just trying to hold off Hudson Cooper, who's just come off the back of a win in his category in the previous race, don't forget. Luke Fitchett, meanwhile, is there in the middle of the gaggle with George Ackerman and Sydney Marshall in front, and Seth Hayward and Riley Paisley giving chase. So there's plenty of talented riders in this particular field, but it's Dilks in front of Kirk, Cesari, Quincy, then Stevenson, Cooper, Shaw and Jenson Bishop ahead of Leo Soliu.
Yeah, the reason we're here this weekend is because it's a prelude to us filming the full Junior World Series next year. The main classes are 160s, MiniGP160's and 190s, but with 17 in this already, you can see we're going to have big grids next year.
Great racing in the MiniGP 160 and 50 category here at Three Sisters in Wigan, just outside the brilliant city of Manchester, or at least not too far from it anyway. Wilson Dilks, 9/10 of a second ahead of Valentino Kimmy Kirk. Trying to stay in the battle, Parker Cesari. How about this for a terrific squabble? Stevenson, Cooper and Shaw having an absolute dogfight here, and Travis Shaw picking up the pieces there to move into 5th position at the expense of both Stevenson and Hudson Cooper. That is some amazing riding from Travis Shaw. Jenson Bishop is closing in on them as well on the 11X. You're probably wondering why his number is 11X. Well, it's because that man there, Dan Stevenson, carries the number 11, and they can't both carry the 11. So Jenson Bishop has added an X to his number so that they can differentiate.
Yeah, the reason he's added an X is probably he's got some black tape somewhere, just so that it doesn't look the same number.
It's probably easier to put an X on than it is to put another number out of tape anyway. There's Annabelle McCarthy's details. We just saw her, and we were talking about her a little earlier on, making waves in the 160 and MiniGP 50 category. You've got to start somewhere, and in this incredible gaggle of riders, it's the perfect proving ground.
Yeah, you will see her coming up in the 190 class. As I said earlier, you speak to her dad earlier, and he did say she's on the 190 for the first time this weekend, so that race for her will be less of a race and more of a practice day.
Hudson Cooper now making his way past Dan Stevenson, so as they come off the turn, Jenson Bishop is hunting them both, and this could be an interesting battle between the three. Behind Bishop is Arnie Carr, there's George Ackerman, in front of Leo Soliu, and then Luke Fitchett ahead of Sydney Marshall. Seth Hayward, Riley Paisley, Annabelle McCarthy and Lucy Curtis still in the hunt. Look at Jenson Bishop getting very quick there off the turn to try and move his way past up the valley in front of Dan Stevenson. Stevenson there carrying the colours. They look very akin to the colours worn by Aaron Slight back in the late 90s, early 2000s in the Superbike days. But obviously there's a lot of passion and patriotism within the various different liveries that these bike riders wear. You can obviously tell what colours Valentino Kimmy Kirk wears because he carries the number 46 of the Doctor. It's great to see these young kids carrying their passions and wearing their hearts on their sleeve in their colour schemes.
Yeah, spends a lot of time, Valley, out in Spain. He thinks that's the best place where he can learn. He's going to come up against a lot of competitions. Mini bikes is a lot bigger in Spain as a sport. Here we tend to have, we've got 2 championships, that's it, both British level.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, if you want to race karting internationally, you go to Italy. If you want to race mini bikes internationally, you go to Spain. That's where you learn. So, the competitors really starting to tighten up. That's the opportunity for Jensen Bishop. Has to hang back a little bit there, though, from Dan Stevenson. Stevenson not giving him the benefit of the doubt there. Parker Cesari, though, the only man really keeping close to Valentino Kimi-Kirk, but look at Wilson Dilks out front, just monstering it in the lead of this race. He has disappeared as Parker Cesari doing his best to keep close to Valentino Kimi-Kirk. There's Harrison Kinsey in front of Travis Shaw, who has dropped Hudson Cooper. And now Dan Stevenson still holding on in front of Jensen Bishop and Arnie Carr.
Yeah, you have to say, on these two-wheel machines, that's an astonishing lead, 4.4 seconds. After the amount of laps that we've had so far. I think there are 9 laps these races today in total. But 4.4 seconds, now 5 seconds indeed out front, so he's around about half a second a lap at least, quicker than anybody else on the track.
Well, at this level of the sport, it's very different compared to karting. Karting, you get a rhythm and people are very evenly spaced. It all comes down to confidence in the mini bikes. If you've got that confidence stance, you can gain anywhere between half a second to a second and a half in 1 lap on your opposition. If you're just in the zone and you feel it, you've got the confidence, you know where the traction is, you know where the damp patches are, so you can ride around the problems essentially. And at this level, you do. Once you've got the nail on the throttle of that particular part of the course, once you've got that confidence, that rhythm, that pace, you can just check out.
Yeah, especially in these conditions. It has dried. You can see the track's a lot drier than it was earlier on in the piece, but on this shot here, you can see where the damp patches are. There's still damp patches. Rain is forecast, so we're expecting that to come along fairly soon.
Right, here comes the Scot. Parker Cesari really hunting down now on Valentino Kimi-Kirk. Second position, last lap begins, and these two are at it again. They were dueling earlier on, and now they're at it in the 160 class. So this is the opportunity. Through the hairpin up to the valley. Luke Fitchett bangs in the fastest lap of the race from P10, so he's obviously trying to charge after Jensen Bishop and pull a fast one on the closing tour of the race. But can Parker Cesari beat Valentino Kimi-Kirk this time? He just missed out last time, as we watch the battle further back as well. Is that Arnie Carr making progress, trying to shake off the competition? Yes, Arnie Carr has got past both Dan Stevenson and Jensen Bishop now, so that's up to 7th place. Can Cesari take on Valentino Kimi-Kirk down the Conrod Straight? He was side by side with him earlier on, but it's exactly the same position in the MiniGP160. He's desperately trying to get there, but he can't quite make it happen. So up in front, Wilson Dilks is going to absolutely clean up here at Three Sisters, takes the checkered flag, and again, this is all going to be about pace off the throttle. Can Parker Cesari get there in front? No, he can't. Kirk is going to hold that 2nd place ahead of Parker Cesari, and Harrison Kinsey is going to have a little bit of pressure there from Travis Shaw to the line, but Travis Shaw does have to concede defeat. Here comes the 6th position rider, Hudson Cooper. Is beaten by Arnie Carr, who had a fabulous closing run there to move his way up into P6 behind the top 5, 11 places gained. Hudson Cooper in 7th place in front of Daniel Stevenson and Jensen Bishop, with 8 places gained from Luke Fitchett up there in the top 10. A brilliant little rider.
Yeah, and the one thing Luke Fitchett can take from that, A, he made up 8 places, and B, he was the fastest man on the track.